So I see quite a few self-advocates in the room. As a matter of fact, all of you might be self-advocates and you don't even know it yet. But you know what? That's totally okay, because anyone can be a self-advocate, and we're going to tell you how to do it. So forgive me, my notes are on my phone. It's easier for me to read that way, so don't think I'm ignoring you. The focus of this breakout session will be providing information for self-advocates, allies, caregivers, and other stakeholders about how to get involved in the Florida self-advocacy movement, including joining and creating self-advocacy groups and virtual groups, getting trained in becoming a good self-advocate, as well as joining local boards, councils, and advocacy groups. Self-advocates, leaders, which are us, by the way, will also share simple and creative ways to incorporate self-determination and self-advocacy into your everyday life. So we are the leaders, aka the Florida Sand Fellows. My name is Amanda Ranachek. I go by Mandy for short. I am originally from the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area, but now reside in Orlando. My full-time job is an administrative assistant for a local nonprofit social services agency in the Orange County area. And to me, self-advocacy means being able to speak up for yourself, being able to kind of have that sense of disability pride, and just speaking for others who can't speak up for themselves. And I'll share my story a little later on. Katie, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Mandy. My name is Katie Kaiser. I'm from DeLand, Florida. I work as an ESC pre-K paraprofessional at Freedom Elementary in my hometown. I have a learning disability and also high-functioning autistic, and I am a first-year fellow, and my self-advocacy is to speak up for ones that aren't able to speak up for themselves and be able to advocate like I am.
Hi, my name is Denise Fouye. I live in Miami Gardens, and I have cerebral palsy. I am a first-year fellow, and the reason why I want to advocate is to challenge the harmful stereotype that people with disability have, that we are uneducated, dumb, and stupid. I want to show the world our strength and intelligence, and we have values.
Good afternoon. My name is Rachel Robinson. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, but I'm currently living in Fort Myers, Florida. I currently am a volunteer caregiver, and currently volunteer caregiver employed with Florida Sand. I'm a caregiver, and I'm a first-year Florida Sand Fellows, and which I learned about. And self-advocacy means to me is speaking up for myself and being heard, as well as speaking up for others, though that's unable to speak up for themselves. It impacted my life by receiving accommodations to reach my goals in life, even when people said that I can't.
Okay, let's review the fundamental definition. As the term self-advocacy is generally defined as speaking up and taking action when it comes time to issue and decision that are important in your life or other with disability. In the disability community, a self-advocate is someone with a disability who practices self-advocacy. Now that we have reviewed the key term, we are going to talk about what self-advocate looks like in your personal life, community setting, work, your own turn, and talking to state lawmakers to make things better for people with disability. And most importantly, we are going to give you advice on how to get started. Because as you can see in the definition, anyone can be a self-advocate. Okay.
Personal self-advocacy. We are going to talk about each one of these. Knowing your rights and responsibility, accessing the resources you need, asking for what you need, and speaking up for yourself, and making decisions about your life instead of a parent or caregiver.
I'm back again. I'm Rachel, for those who had just came in the room. I'll be sharing my story on knowing your rights and responsibility as well as accessing the resources. Now, I learned about my rights later on in years, my rights as far as, because I was also a person with learning disability and also learned later on in life. I also have, also work with ADHD and stuff. And so, even though I learned it all in life, I was in college when I learned about ADHD. I just knew learning disability from growing up, and so, but because of that, I was also told that I wasn't gonna be able to go to college because of my learning disability and stuff, and that college wasn't in the stars for me. But that got proven wrong because I am a college graduate with my associate degree and bachelor's degree. Thank you. And so when I learned about my rights and responsibilities, that I can receive, that there are services in colleges that can help you to achieve your dreams and achieve your success. And because of that, I was able to access the services to where I was able to receive a note taker. So I had someone that came with me to my classes and that would take notes for me, even while I was taking my notes and stuff. Two, I also was able to record my lectures, so because there'd be time that I wouldn't be able to write down everything, especially if the professors turned their back and stuff, because I wouldn't be able to hear that well if I can't see their lips moving and stuff, because I was also hard of hearing but didn't have a hearing aid yet. And three, I was able to take my test exams in another room, and it was unlimited test time. So I had unlimited test time, and also was able to take my test and exams in another room. So I don't have to worry about being distracted from students that take that test quickly and getting up and getting out. So that is my story of knowing my rights and accessing the resources.
Thank you, Rachel. If you are just coming in, my name is Katie Kaiser, and I'm going to be sharing my story about asking for help when you need it. So when I was in high school, actually before high school, but I started using my accommodations more in high school, as I had a learning disability called late developing language, where I had all the brains and working up here, but I had trouble getting it from the brain to the mouth out to the paper. And so one of my accommodations on my IEP was I was able to go to the smaller classroom, and I was able to have a teacher there. I was able to do my stuff quietly and just be able to succeed and work on a better area than being in a classroom where it was loud and noisy with all the teachers and kids. However, even though my teachers knew all my accommodations on my IEP, I was the one that had to advocate and stand up and ask for me to go and take my work to this place, because my teachers couldn't read my mind. They didn't know when I needed that break or when I needed that opportunity to go to that classroom. And I was successfully be able to achieve high school. I graduated with a GPA of 3.9 and cum laude. And I also just had my 10-year high school reunion back in September. So being an advocate and stepping up and asking for what you need will help you be able to succeed in life.
Beautiful story, Katie. So speaking up for yourself is my story. And in order to speak up for yourself, you also have to speak about yourself. So I was born legally blind with a rare genetic eye condition that basically causes albinism in the back of my eyes. So basically kind of made me the laughing stock of the whole school growing up, having to have, large print books and everything like that. And I always felt very insecure about my disability. And also around that time, I didn't even know I was autistic. I actually just got diagnosed with autism about 3 years ago. So yeah, surprise. Anyway, back in college, I was still kind of feeling the same way, and I joined a mentorship program where I met this gentleman here by the name of Bill Kokoski. And Bill has cerebral palsy and developmental delays, but Bill was also part of a group called the, bless you, no, that's not what it's called. He was part of a group called the Cranston Voices, which is overseen by another group called Advocates in Action Rhode Island. So Advocates in Action Rhode Island is their version of the Florida Sand. And he took me to a couple of the meetings of his group. I got to learn what self-advocacy was about. I got to meet a variety of different people from all different walks of life, multiple disabilities, and just kind of learn more about what they do and what they stand for and what they fight for. So a year goes by after meeting Bill. He invites me to their self-advocacy conference. And before the conference, he told me to build something called an About Me box. And as you can see in the picture behind me, this is just one of the About Me boxes. I also do some of these presentations as well, so this is a more updated version of it. I had to fill that box with things that mattered to me. Now, at the time, I didn't know what this was. I thought this was going to be a display piece, or I thought it was just going to be some cool little decoration for the banquet that night. And he takes me to a breakout session with about 50 some odd people in the audience. And he made me present the box. I was mortified, to say the least. So what he told me was, Mandy, it is your time. And I'm freaking out because part of the About Me box project is when you introduce yourself, you introduce a little bit about your disability if you feel comfortable with it. So basically be like, my name is Mandy, I'm legally blind, these are things that matter to me. Getting to that point, talking about my disability in front of strangers scared the living daylights out of me. But with Bill's support and the support of the Cranston Voices that were in the audience that day, they cheered me on, and I was able to present the box with a sense of pride that I've never felt in myself before. And because of that, I became a blogger for the Mighty for a while. Back when the Mighty first started, I was one of their main bloggers. I eventually joined Florida Sand, where I helped found Magical Self-Advocates of Greater Orlando, so my own little group. And most recently, back in 2024, I graduated from the Partners in Policy Making program with the Alan Wesley Award for Leadership Skills. And if it weren't for Bill standing up for me and kind of making me do that, I wouldn't be here talking to you guys today.
Okay. Thank Mandy. Will somebody please read that what it understands, please? Somebody in the audience?
Yeah, making decisions about your life instead of a parent or caregiver.
Okay.
So this is her story.
My story is when I was in high school, way back in the day, yeah, they were driver ed, and I wanted to get driver ed, and so I went home and I told my mom, and she was like, after I told her, I don't remember what she said, but I remember she was discussing it with my brother, asking him, my brother, they were discussing whether or not I can do it. And I'm like, I can do it? No. So I went to the instructor and I advocated for myself, and I get my history in early 1900s. Yeah. 1990s. Yeah.
There you go.
1990. Yeah, early. But I get my history. And we get my history, and I didn't get my license until the 1100s, after 2013. Yeah. So I would further myself. That was the first time I advocated for myself in a professional manner to get what I needed. Yeah, and yeah.
And so now I will talk about how you and each and every person of you can get started in personal self-advocacy. And here's how. First, you could look for training opportunities throughout your neighborhood or community and also on the website. And then on our Florida Sin website, we have Route to Self-Determination, Partners in Policy Making, as which Mandy has spoke about that she graduated from last year. Breaking Barriers Training Academy, and and as well as you could also talk. You could network and talk to people either in your school if you're in school, maybe your neighbors or former teachers that you trust. And your support coordinator, experienced self advocates, and you could also get involved in your community self advocacy efforts. Stay tuned.
Now we are going to ask the audience to participate, and Rachel is going to explain what we are going to ask you to do.
So now this is where everyone can participate. So by show of hands, I would like to see who would like to learn about how to self advocate or how to advocate for to solve community problems or whatever issue that may be happening in your community. How to advocate in your workplace, so those that are working or wants to work, how you can advocate for yourself in the workplace and receive the assistance you will need to perform the job. And the third one is how you advocate with the Florida lawmakers to make sure that there are services for you and that they will not be taken away. So, how many is for wants to know about how to solve community problems? Can I get a show of hands? Okay, so far we have 9 people. I think it's 10.
Good question.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so 9 votes for the first one.
So 9 votes for the first one. How many would like to know more about advocacy in the workplace?
Five, six.
Okay, so we got 6 for that.
And then advocacy with your Florida lawmakers.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Nine.
Hold on, let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have a winner.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a lawmaker.
So now we're gonna speaking up to our state lawmakers. And it says in every community in Florida we have 2 representatives in the Florida state legislatures, a representative and a senator. They make many of the laws that affect people with disabilities in Florida. They decide how much money state agencies that serve people with disabilities get, and self-advocates can impact this process. Your voice is important. So by seeing your legislators, by even, and it don't always have to be a Tallahassee, but it could be within your community, whoever your legislatures or your senator is that represents your community, which they love to hear from their constituent, because then that also helps them to make the decisions and that helps them to be able to fight for you as well too. And so you want to do that, and so that then this way that helps them by seeing the faces and not just numbers on papers.
And our voices, believe it or not, are actually making a difference. So advocacy groups have annual legislative priorities during the annual legislative sessions. So whenever you look at any of the local agencies like the Disability Rights Florida, Florida Developmental Disabilities Council, the ARC, they typically post their priorities on the website, and the priorities very based on the needs of the community and the people that they serve. So it could be anything from transportation, housing, any kind of specific bills that are currently being circulated or proposed. They'll post those on the website, and most of those websites will actually allow you to track those bills. So, your results may vary when it comes to whatever those priorities might be. Advocates work to protect and support home and community-based services by advocating to raise provider rates up to $15 an hour. And in 2024, see a 10% increase across the board. That is very, very important and very, very good news, because some of our direct support professionals, they don't get paid that well, and as a result, not many actually stay. And people with disabilities, whether they be intellectual, developmental, or physical, or otherwise, they would feel more comfortable having a single person or a single group of people taking care of them, rather than a revolving door of just completely random people walking in and out. So having those provider rates raised is very, very high and very, very important in our community. And also, supportive decision-making as an alternative to guardianship was passed last year in 2024. And you'll hear more about Michael Lincoln's story a little later on. And advocates and parents push legislators to reduce the waiting list and speed up the time folks spend on that waiting list. That's definitely something that's been a work in progress for many, many years. And the more advocates speak up, the better results that we will have as a whole. Advocates help start the Working People with Disabilities program that enables self-advocates who are on the waiver to save and earn money without losing their medical benefits. And also in 2025, bills were passed that created a disability history curriculum in all schools that would be mandatory. Obviously now with the political issues going on with DEI, having our stories and our history protected is very, very important. And it will also require APD to be more transparent about what's going on with the wait lists. So now APD and the family care councils are going to get more involved to keep transparency open to the general public, listing how many people are on the waiting list, how many people are being served. They would have to eventually start publishing that in the websites, and the family care councils are going to get stronger, all because of what we do as self-advocates. And as you can see in the picture behind me, some of our Florida self-advocates from Magical Self-Advocacy were in the Tallahassee, going to different representatives speaking for the supportive decision-making. This was back last year in 2024, and it eventually got passed, all because we spoke up.
Thank you, Mandy. Here is how self-advocates can make a difference. Make an appointment to visit your legislator at one of their offices. Each has an office in Tallahassee and in the community they represent. Hint: visit to the local office, and speaking to an aide can have more impact than on DD Day. This is why you ask to speak to an aide. It can be more effective. They often take more time with you. They have access to the representative and can help advocate for you if you make a good impression. Plan what you're going to say, have a short personal story related to issues ready, and have limited time for the appointment. Have potential solutions ready if possible. And like Mandy said, this story is about Michael McCrae in this picture. Michael McCrae, Florida Sand parliamentarian and leader of Florida Sand's Orlando group, worked tirelessly with Disabilities Right Florida and other agencies to help pass supportive decision-making law in Florida. Michael was assigned a guardianship against his will, and because of the work of Michael and other advocates, judges are required to consider supportive decision-making as a less restrictive option to guardianship. Support decision-making involves choosing trusted friends and family to advise you on important life decisions.
Thank Katie. You have something to do. Leave brief printed summary of your problem and priority. what you want. Dress appropriately for the appointment. Choose one or two per person, people to, but more can go to let them know your problem and group are large. Here are another chance for us to vote on the last two topics that we have. Rachel.
Okay, so we just covered of how you can advocate in your community. Um, or lawmakers. Sorry about that. So now, okay, what about those advocates? So now we learned about advocating in our with our lawmakers. Now, what about how advocating in our community? How many is for that? And how many is for advocating in the workplace?
In community.
All right, you got 8.
So
Community.
now we go to
Community.
Thank you, Rachel. Now we're going to talk about advocacy to solve community problems. These are the examples that we're going to be talking about. Join a self-advocacy group or help start one. Represent people with disabilities on a community boards. Volunteer with organizations you believe in.
Thank you, Katie. So, what are the benefits of joining or creating a self advocacy group? Well, there's always power in numbers. Groups can always accomplish more. Better ideas come from groups because more heads are better than one. Self advocacy groups help teach people in the community about disability issues they otherwise wouldn't know. Because if you don't know someone with disability, you don't know what they're going through, right? Being around people with different types of disabilities helps one be more understanding and informed of other people's challenges. And groups provide a social circle for self-advocates and a safe place where they can feel included and understood, just like I felt when I joined Bill's group, the Cranston Voices, back when I was in college.
Yeah.
Oh, and these are some of our local group community activities. Where we have Voices of Advocates Reaching Community in Jacksonville volunteering, and they volunteering at one of the Food for the Hungry. And then we have another where it's the Clay County Change Makers, which is here in Orlando, volunteering at their community's little library. So you see self-advocacy in the workings. As well as we have the Cool Abilities of Pensacola at Family Cafe, and you also have the Cool Abilities here hosting their annual Advocates of the Year Award, which is Micah, I believe, and he won at the Year Award ceremony.
Thank you, Rachel. Now we're going to go over the examples of local group advocacy. Advocate with the local leaders about community problems, accessibility issues, transportation, employment, housing, and here's how we do this. Write letters and emails to officials and businesses. Contact them through social media. Attend and speak at city and county government meetings. Work with county ADA director. Start a local government disability advisories group. Awareness activities, Local Disability Awareness Day, Wheelchair Challenge, and Project to benefit people with disabilities. Don't forget to publicize your advocacy on social media. Call your local newspaper and TV and radio station. Let the community know what you are doing. Local group advocacy in action. Clay County Changemakers member Lauren Aiken approached a parent at a local park about how misusing wheelchair swings damaged them. Social media posts caught the eye of them current Orange Park mayor who offered her help in getting the word out. CCCM Instrumental and New County Disability Advisory Group. And Lauren Aiken is actually in the audience today, and we're going to actually ask her a question about this. So I'm going to head to her. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So my question is for you is why did you decide to go ahead and approach this situation?
Because somebody's got to do it, and if they're not willing to speak up, you have to be the one to speak up for our community.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for doing that, Lauren, and being an advocate and showing us what it's all about.
No problem.
Here are more examples of further and group advocating in the community. Advocating, one more. Advocating in the community. As you can see, self-advocacy groups are involved in a variety of activities include advocacy, education, and special events. In the first picture is a village event from Penderfine conducting a silent protest at a community event. In this picture, a group of self-advocates are holding signs saying, please do not cut our services, funding for our services, and Medicaid matters to low-income people. The next picture is a Clay County filmmaker advocating at a Florida for Voices for Healthcare meeting.
And this is my lovely group, Magical Self Advocates of Greater Orlando. This is my baby. So I created this group back in about 2018, 2019 ish, when right before the pandemic hit. And I wanted to basically do what Bill did with the Cranston Voices and kind of bring that here to Orlando. Me not realizing that Orlando was really, really big. So after the pandemic hit, and with me getting a job with the theme parks, I wasn't able to fully commit to my duties as the magical member president. So what I did was I passed my group on to Michael Lincoln McCrate and Miss Michelle Zeman. Raise your hand. There you go. Hey. So Michael and Michelle actually brought my group back from the dead, in a sense. So what they did was they reached out to many members of the community that I didn't have connections with. They were able to create this really awesome developmental disabilities day because they thought, they came up with the idea, hey, if Tallahassee can have a developmental disabilities day, why not Orlando itself? So what they did was they went to the Florida Developmental Disabilities website. They have an advocacy toolkit on their website that gives them all the information they need on how to reach out to local lawmakers, reach out to different nonprofits and other agencies to help create a developmental disabilities day. Started off with about 3 or 4 random people in the library, grew it to, this is our second year doing it in this photo from 2024 where we got like over 60 people that attended. We shared different speeches about, you know, what it's like being disabled and what we've accomplished. We've reached out to local lawmakers, commissioners who came out and attended. We got multiple sheriffs from different police departments in the Central Florida area that come out. We had the local library come out. Some of the family care councils did too. And this became a really big tradition. We just recently had ours at the Sunlight Community Church, and we try to hold these events on or around March 29th, which is our proclaimed Developmental Disabilities Day in the state of Orlando by Mayor Buddy Dyer. So, yeah. Go us.
Thanks for that, Mandy. And now we will have leaflets and a presentation handout in the room, so they will have something to take. So you will have something to take with you about Florida Sin, and it also will share with you of how of how it works and how you can join a self-advocacy group or start one. If there's not a group that you know of that's active in your community, you could go on the website and to click on it to find out if there's one in your group, or if not, that you will also go on the website, which is www.flsand.org, and you will click on the toolbox kit, and it will give you information on how you can go about and to start a group in your community to reach out to all other disabilities people. And as well as also, we also want you to if you're interested in a virtual group, to sign up. And so there will also be a list for you to sign up to sign up to get on the email to be a part of the virtual group. And we would love to hear you or to see you come on to our monthly call, which meets every first Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Thank you, Rachel. Participating on community boards and committees. Represent in groups like these. Raise awareness about disability issues and your abilities with community leaders. Include a disability's voice and contribute to solving community problems. Some of the committee boards and committees are Family Care Council, Center for Independence Living, ARC, and PTA boards, and FCIC Community Advisory Committee.
Learn about position as a self-advocate, waiver support coordinator, providers, someone at your local hog or Center for Independent Living, and of course the Florida Stand. Let your desire to serve be known. Get your name out there. Seek out mentors and allies on the board. Ask for advice to be mentored. Get permission to observe meeting. Volunteer at the organization. You get to know people. For me, I live in Miami Garden, and all the country people, all the country persons know me because I want them to see people like me, people with disabilities, in their community. We are there, we are alive, we are heard. Yeah. We have one more topic, the closed word. Rachel.
So the last topic that we're going to be speaking about will be on advocacy in the workplace.
Okay, I don't need to. I remember this slide. Let's talk about how we can raise awareness, advocating about our amazing ability in the workplace.
Now, being able to work is also advocacy and action. So that is alerting people to accessibility issues at work. It could be something as small as the Braille bathroom sign fell off the wall, or it could be somebody parked their truck near the handicap ramp and none of your customers or clients could get in. Telling someone when you see discrimination or bullying. At work, we always want to feel safe, and we want to make sure the people we take care of, no matter what industry we in, feel safe. So when you see bullying or harassment of any kind, don't be afraid to tell someone. And if you have to climb up the corporate ladder to get that done, so be it. Go ahead and do it. Protect those people that otherwise wouldn't feel safe protecting themselves. And always be a great employee. So what does that involve? Well, it means a couple different things. It could mean being to work on time, making sure you are clean, you're wearing the appropriate outfit or uniform for the job. You are paying attention to the policies and procedures of work. You're following whatever your boss asks of you. And also, you're asking for your accommodations as well. You also get to speak up for yourself a bit. Because your accommodations are important to help make the job go smoother. So, for instance, with my story recently, our office, which has been in the same location for about 20 some odd years, just recently shut down because another school had taken its place. So, as a result, what used to be a really easy commute for me is not so easy anymore. With me being legally blind, I have to take public buses, and unfortunately, public buses, they do go to where I'm at, but making the transfers is difficult because of the way they're scheduled. So what I did to basically help accommodate myself to get to work is I signed up for the local paratransit system, Access Links. Now, if you are familiar with Access Links, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to take. Sometimes they drop you really, really early, or they pick you up really, really late, or they drop you off really, really late. So one of the issues I was facing was trying to keep my schedule tight and make sure that I wasn't late for work, which has happened, unfortunately, a few times since we made the move. So I spoke to my boss and I explained the situation. I explained to her what goes on when you take a paratransit and how it's set up. I've actually showed her the app of how it's actually set up when I order my ride. So she kind of got an understanding on how it's not like Uber or Lyft where I could just be like, hey, pick me up right now, 10-4, go, 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 So she understood my situation and she told me a couple different tips on how to flex my time a bit. So if I'm ever late for work, I can always make up that time later on in the week. Or I can make up that time during my lunch break where I could just take, 15-minute lunch instead of a half-hour lunch or vice versa. And she's been very, very supportive of me and supportive of my situation. And I am very, very thankful for her. Now, I know in some jobs, people might not be so lucky, but that's up to you to kind of speak up for yourself, know your rights and responsibilities as both a self-advocate and an employee of your organization. Reach out to your human resources or your DEI coordinator or your manager, and don't be afraid to speak up for yourself because you want to help them as much as they hired you to do a task. You want to help them too, and it will look good just to be able to take care of their people, So don't be afraid to speak up. Summary.
Oh, sorry. All right. Well, we've covered a lot today, and it's time to wrap things up. Here are a few Here's How highlights for those who want to become more involved in Florida's self-advocate movement. But first, let's see if we can all say Here's How highlights 3 times. So I need everyone to participate with me on this, okay? So you ready? First time. Here's how highlights. Second time. Here's how highlights. Here's how highlights. Good job. All right. Back to work. Tell someone you want to get more involved in self-advocacy in the community. Tell them what you learned today and talk about how to get started. Use Florida SAN and Florida Self-Advocacy Center as resources. Contact info on the next slide. Join a Florida SAN group or contact Florida SANs about future virtual groups. Look for training opportunities, partner in policymaking, Route to Self-Determination, Breaking Barriers Training Academy, Advocacy Essentials Series, and Project SALT out of the Mailman Center in South Florida. And here's my highlight. Last year was my first year ever coming to Family Cafe, and I actually was one of you guys. I was sitting in the audience learning how to be a self-advocate, and I had a light bulb and it came on, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a self-advocate. I want to be able to be that voice for the people out there in my community, just like me. And so I applied, I became a Florida Fellow, and I've just been learning so much about self-advocacy and how it works. And I didn't realize how much research was out there and how much opportunities we do have out there. And it's so great to see that. And if you want to hear more about that or have any questions for me, I will be at the booth tomorrow between 9 and 11. Thank you.
And so thank you, Katie. And as she was saying, but the next slide, this is the info. And also, you will also receive a pamphlet that also lists the info of how to be in contact, of how to contact Florida SAN, how to be apply for advocate, also as well as how to find out about groups in your area, so the local advocacy group, and as well as you could also go to www.flsand.org, slash monthly call, to where you're all invited to be a part of the monthly call. And then we meet every first Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and we're on for about 30 minutes. And we have, and in the monthly call meetings, we have discussion of different disabilities, what's going on in the community, in the state, in the world. And we are able to voice our opinion and be able to reach out and get information on how to reach out to the lawmakers in those various areas and cities and states to let them know we're not just a number, but we are a face. And as well as also, you can also join our Facebook group, which is on facebook.com/group/FLSAND and also keep you up to date on all the information and everything that we are doing. And as well as going to the website of floridasan.org too, and that keeps you updated.
Okay, thank you for attending our presentation. Anyone have any questions for us?
So, the question was, if you live in do you have to live in South Florida to be part of Florida SAN? No. And even though we have groups throughout the state of Florida, currently we have 13 active groups, and I think about 4 or 5 inactive groups we're still looking to resurrect from the pandemic. Even if there's a group not near you, you could start a group just like I did. So all I did was I went to the FL SAN website, and I sent them an email and explained my situation. Hi, I'm new to Orlando. I want to be able to make a difference in my community. How do I get involved? And they gave me all the resources I needed on how to start a group. And my group got initiated through our Florida SAN Board of Directors. And if you want to learn more about that, feel free to come on down to the booths, and we'll be more than happy to get you signed up and squared away. If you have any direct questions for me, if you want to learn more about it, I will be back at the booths tomorrow, I think from, was it like 5 to 6 or something? 5 to 6:30? 5 to 6:30? Yeah, 5 to 6:30. So I'll be back there tomorrow night, 5 to 6:30.
And to piggyback on what Mandy was saying about that question about it being anywhere or have to be in South Florida, if you don't find a group or you have trouble making a group, you're more than welcome to join our call that we have every month at 7 to 7:30 on Zoom, on Mondays. And we meet for about 30 minutes. We talk about certain topics that are out there. We just did traveling, about accommodations on traveling. We do like legislative, all kinds of stuff. So that is also another avenue if you cannot find a group in your area, or you're not really comfortable to start one just yet, but you're more than welcome to join and just get a feel of what it's all about.
And just to kind of piggyback a little bit off that, our next Florida SAN monthly call will be on July 7th at 7 o'clock. So 7 at 7. Easy to remember. And we will be discussing about disability accommodations at local attractions. So theme parks, museums, concerts, what available options out there, what available resources are there, what some places are offering, different stadiums, different theme parks, Disney, Universal, the whole thing. So we would love to have you guys come on the call, talk a little bit about your experiences, any kind of hot tips you guys might have. We would be happy to have you on board. So even if you don't have a group or you're just curious to find out a little more, the monthly calls are the best way to do that. So again, it's the first Monday of every month at 7 o'clock. Oh, the trainings you could do online. Our Breaking Barriers Training Academy is like an online thing that you could do at your own pace. Yes. Absolutely. So at the booth, we do have flyers that explain more in detail about that. Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Yes, sir, in the back.
I wasn't, my reading department, the department we have no space to our meetings.
Oh, so he said that I guess where he meets, they have trouble finding a space for their meetings.
Yes, the main goal.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the options you could do, one of the things that we as Magical members do, because Orlando is really, really big and Central Florida is just huge as a whole, what we do is we sometimes have our meetings either on a virtual thing. So, like either Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams. You'd be able to do your group meetings that way, and it's just as effective as if you were meeting in person. So, yeah, definitely try that. You're welcome.
Any other questions out there for us? Yes, in the back.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
AKA, that is my mother. So,
Hi, Mom.
no, we appreciate the support and we thank you for being here. All of us, our family, our friends. It gets a little nerve-wracking to be up here, especially if it's your first time. So we appreciate your patience and just letting us be able to share our mission about Florida Stands with you guys.
Yep.